Okay, I'm fine now. I can get back to being unfocused. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, that I know for sure, was how amazing of a love story Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia have. Because if you think about it, throughout the whole series, hardly any muggles know about wizards. Like, really only the ones who've had children who became witches or wizards know that they exist, that Hogwarts exists, that there's this whole other world out there. So Aunt Petunia is in a really unique state of knowing about this other world but not actually being a part of it. By the time they adopt Harry, Uncle Vernon is fully keyed in to what's going on. He knows exactly what Harry is, and he is fully on board with Petunia. Like, they're on the same page as far as keeping Harry away from this world and trying to stamp the magic out of him. And Uncle Vernon actually heads that charge when he's talking to Aunt Petunia after they get Harry's first letter. He says, when we took him in, we swore we'd stamp him out of it. And through the books, they're framed as Harry's antagonists. But if you just take them in the context of each other and think about it, they're such a great pairing. Because throughout all 7 years of Harry's schooling and all of the terrible things that are happening because Voldemort is coming back into power and all of these muggles are dying and disappearing around them, Uncle Vernon sticks by Aunt Petunia. I mean, it's her direct family who's involved in all of this. And Uncle Vernon stays by her side that entire time. And his first instinct when, this scary, enormous, powerful man shows up is to shield his wife and son from this big thing that he doesn't understand and doesn't even know if he can fight, but he is willing to protect them, and that's the first thing that he does. And that just carries on through the rest of the series. Like, he takes his family away to try and protect them, and they go on vacation outside of Great Britain when things start coming to a head and it starts looking like it's actual war. And so then if you go back in time from the point where Harry was left on their doorstep and go all the way back to the beginning, he and Petunia would have had to have met, presumably dated for a little while, gotten married, had a son, and at some point in there, Petunia would have had to tell Vernon about her family, her sister in particular. And at the beginning of the first book, even, Vernon is the one who gets clued into the fact that a weird thing having to do with her world happened recently. Like the complete destruction of that house, or the shooting stars that are on the news, the weather doing weird things. Vernon's the one that picks up on it. So going back to them having met and been dating and deciding to get married, and then she has to explain this really incredible thing to him, and this thing that both of them end up hating together. Like, they're both very opposed to magic and don't want to be associated with those weirdos and don't want anybody on their block to know that they were related to people like that. And so he had to be the first person that she informed that that was her situation. And he took that information, digested it, decided it was real, and stayed with her for countless numbers of years. I mean, at least 18 years. At least 17 years. presumably longer than that. Presumably. Because at the beginning of the 7th book, Dudley and Harry have turned 17. So presumably they were together longer than that because they were together before they had Dudley. And I'm just going on being the traditionalist, proper British, not necessarily even strictly British, but just that proper family dynamic that they seem to have, and being very, very conscientious of how they're perceived by everyone around them. I would assume that they would have gone through all of the proper steps to form a relationship, date, be married for a while, then have a son. And through all of that, they stuck together. And it's just magical. Unless, of course, they were just completely bonded through their hatred of things, and they only stayed together because of that precedent of how they had to present themselves to the rest of the community.